everyone. This is Pendy.
And this is Paul, also known as EastX Twitch.
Are you sure?
Think about it.
This is a Slime Time podcast spinoff called Die Another Day, and we're here to bring you a special roundtable discussion on the adventure of the guy with the thingy on his forehead manga series.
Oh no, you didn't. Don't you mean the Adventure of Die?
Yeah. That guy. Die. He fights the mean-looking dude with the claws. His name is Ham Sandwich? Sham Hatwich? Bururian, help me out here.
Sorry, man. I'm real bad with names. I'm better with faces.
AustNerevar?
You're on your own, man.
You guys are ridiculous. It's Hadlar, Dark Lord Hadlar. Have you learned nothing from our Tactfully Die episodes together?
All I know is that things happened. There were a lot of speed lines. Pop hid somewhere.
Yeah, the green guy with the magic stick.
That's what she said. No, this is going to be a long podcast, but shorter than last time, I hope. As you probably guessed, we brought a couple of guests in for this roundtable discussion.
Yes, we have. We have Bururian
Hey, what's shaking?
and AustNerevar
Says hi.
to help us out today.
That's right. We'll break the book down by each major section. The first episode will cover the first half of the first English volume.
Yes, because these volumes are thick.
Something is thick, all right.
Oh my.
Oh, yes. So let's get right into it. So we're going to go over, part 1 and part 2. We're going to cover page 1 through page 44. So in these two chapters, we are introduced to the mysterious young boy Dai that lives on an island of monsters. A band of fake heroes kidnap the golden slime, Gome-chan, and Dai saves him with the help of some magic cylinders.
The first thing you'll notice about these chapters is you have to read them from right to left. Now, I haven't read the rest, so I don't know if they're all like that, but it's possible.
Oh, darn it. You know what? I read this backwards.
Oh, man.
I had the audiobook version.
That would be, I never even thought about the possibility of an audiobook. That'd be silly, but that would be interesting. You'd have to use a lot of imagination, especially with a manga.
You'd have to be harder to listen from right to left, but
Oh, well, think about all the sound effects the person would have to do. Swish, swoosh, crash.
that makes it better.
Well, hey, at least they translated the sound effects in the English version and didn't just leave them in Japanese like some others will.
Yeah, it's a lot of extra work to, they obviously have to erase the Japanese sound effect and then redraw it, but yeah. It makes the book better.
There was one manga that I have the whole run of it, and in the back of every volume they have a glossary of the sound effects, so you can look at the panel number on the page, and it will they translate it there for you on what it meant. But that was a lot of work, so I just stopped paying attention to sound effects.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
a lot
think-
of flipping back and forth.
I think the DQM Plus manga had the Japanese effects written out. I think so.
That just makes Die a little bit better.
Yeah, you're right.
Wow.
I just flipped it open, and it absolutely does. Actually, they have both. It's in English and Japanese.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they have the English written like right above or below it, but the Japanese sound effects are still there.
Okay. That's a fine way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was an interesting way to start the book. It's basically a very encapsulated story. I think someone had mentioned when we tried to record this before that this was kind of like a starter to the series to see if it would go longer or something like that. That you could just do a one and done with this, but obviously they ended up doing a much more in the future.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the whole it's just part 1 and 2, or was it the next section, the Diomite? But yeah, it felt very segmented from the rest of the volume.
Yeah, I read, I think it was Mimas's post on the Den when she reviewed it. I think she said the first, I don't know how many chapters, but like the first story
Yeah, 3 or 4.
was just to show off monsters from one of the upcoming games. I think it may have been 4 was going to be next, Dragon Quest 4.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
It was
Yeah.
so popular that they just continued the characters in a different story.
it's awesome.
That could
Yeah.
be true.
Yeah, and I like how in the very beginning, they're talking about like how this former hero takes down the Dark Lord, and you kind of sort of looks like Baramos, possibly. So there's definitely like a little bit of an influence there, I think.
That's exactly what I thought it was. 'Cause
Yeah.
It looks almost pretty much like Baramos.
Yeah. Who is from Dragon Quest 3? He is, right?
Yeah, you got it. You were so confident there, and you backed off.
Right.
That's a ticket.
Yeah, it was great setup though for it, because in the first panel they defeat the Dark Lord, and then all of the monsters are freed from their enslavement to the Dark Aura.
Which is a joyous occasion. And yeah, that particular page, the very first page, we've got that panel of the monsters looking scary before they're freed, and then they look so cheerful and delightful after they're freed, which is great.
Oh yeah, that panel where they look evil, it's like nightmare inducing. That lower right hand panel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially the heel slime. I don't want to mess with that.
Scariest hill slime ever.
But the happy hill slime, he looks like I want him to be my best friend.
He looks like he just got a puff puff, as far as I'm concerned.
That's true. It's the exact face you make. So this book, these first two chapters, I should say, they take place, like you said, they're very self-contained. They take place on the island. And in fact, the whole first volume does. So what other cool highlights do we have of this early part of the book? I heard something good happens on page 9. It's too bad the pages are mostly not numbered.
Oh, I hate that. It's like they won't be numbered, and then randomly one will have it just to give you like
context for the rest of the book.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was trying to number all the chapters for everybody for this podcast. I was like, oh, yeah, just 1 through 44, 45 through 114. And then it's like, oh, every 10 pages, we're just not going to do numbers at all or more. It was weird.
Yeah, long stretches. I understand, like, okay, these 2 pages don't have numbers, but it's longer stretches than that. So here's a fun moment. On page 9, very early in the story, before Dai has met the fake heroes, he's imagining himself as a hero. That's what he really wants to be, even though Grandpa Brass is training him instead to be a mage, which he has no aptitude for. But he imagines himself to be a hero, and we've got this cool, like, semi-silhouetted view of traditional. He's wearing the crown of champions. He hasn't seen the crown yet, but it's a good way to bring his imagination to life.
And who else but to help him imagine it is Gome-chan sitting on his forehead.
Perfect for that.
Oh yeah, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but they finally they explained what Gome-chan was, and they don't do it until like the very end of the story, because like I just watched 97 of episode 97 of the anime, and they finally explained what Gome-chan is, what he is, and what his backstory is. It's amazing once you get to it, but man, you gotta wait.
I guess I'll be waiting for a few more years, because I plan on just waiting and reading all of the manga first, and then going and watching the anime a couple of years down the line. Because I think someone on the Discord was talking about how there's going to be about 25 volumes of these big thick boys.
Yeah, because it's a lot.
Volumes.
I didn't know how long the original run for this was, so it's a lot, apparently.
And we must own them all.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get all of these.
Oh, yeah, I definitely am.
Yeah, we just got volume 4 recently in the last few weeks.
I need to catch up.
Yeah, as do I, but I'm taking it slowly. But yeah, it's great to support Dragon Quest in the West by buying merchandise like this. Sorry,
but these books are so sorry to go off topic, but I mean it's kind of on topic. But these books are so quality, though. Like, I mean,
they are.
Maybe it'd be nicer if they were hardcover, but like the I mean, I love the color pages in here and just how it's presented, the whole production of it. It's great.
Oh yeah, that's actually good that you bring that up. I was going to bring that up towards the end of this, but I thought it was interesting how, speaking to other people who read manga a lot more regularly than I do, how big the size of the books are compared to other countries that have this manga as well.
Yeah, it's like 1/3 the size larger almost from what I've seen. I've seen some comparison shots somewhere, and yeah, they're definitely bigger.
Yeah, because my wife is South Korean, and she gave me a fantastic present to help with my Korean reading skills, and she got me the first volume in Korean.
Oh,
you know what? That's where I saw it from. It was that picture you posted.
Oh, me.
Yeah, there's my source, primary source.
The source is the guy next to you.
Sean, you talked about people reading manga more regularly than you, and I just imagine you reading a manga, but you're like, I don't know, wearing like a clown hat and clown shoes. Like, he's not regular at all.
I'm a irregular reader. But yeah, the Korean book, and I know is the same size as the Japanese book, from what I've been told, and it's interesting. Also, that it actually has a jacket. So, like the American book, like is just it's the cover, but the Korean book, and I'm assuming the Japanese book is like this too. That cover that we have in the American version is actually the book jacket of the manga that you can take off, and then has a separate cover that's actually attached to the rest of the manga, and it's kind of got like a light blue hue to it around the borders, and it looks similar to like one of the inside pages of the American book. And of course, the American book has like the little introductory page on the 3 major people involved with the manga.
Yeah.
That's worth mentioning too, because it has a little write-up, little paragraph about Riku Sanjo, who was the person who wrote it, Koji Inada, who's the artist, and then Yuji Horii, of course, who was the supervisor of this project and the creator of Dragon Quest and all the games, which that they put that in special for the Western version or English version, which I thought was neat.
It is cool. So let's break down the story a little more. I mentioned the fake heroes earlier. Anybody have any thoughts about the introduction of the fake heroes?
I like it mainly because they don't even try to hide the fact that they aren't good people. Like the first panel with them, they very clearly look evil. Like that first shot, the hero just has I think the elder says it later, but he's like, a hero's eyes are brighter than that, because this dude has like the mage, the warrior, and the hero all look very sinister, and then you have the priest, who's a woman, has that very seductress look to her.
Yeah, I approve of that. She seems nice.
Yeah, it was also, I thought that was nice how they all represent the different Dragon Quest III classes plus the hero style from Dragon Quest III. I thought that was cool.
Yes, definitely a good touch. And my original thought about their introduction is that they look so shifty right from the beginning, but I think it would have been more effective storytelling to have it be a surprise. Like, you don't have to tell us right up front, by the way, these are bad guys. But I guess that's how it is. I mean, this is targeted, it's a young boys manga, right? I would think.
Yeah, it's targeted at a younger audience, especially in the beginning.
Well, it is sold under the Shonen Jump line, so that should tell you enough right there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And one of the highlights I thought of this book that you don't see in the anime as much is when the whole magic cylinder thing, where Dai has the monsters in the cylinder and he pops them out, and then the different monsters do different abilities to distract or get at the different fake heroes, which you don't see all of it in the anime, even the old one. So, like, for example, you've got like the goodie bag that distracts the soldier because he's like, oh my god, jewels and money. And then like one that I know is not in the anime is you've got the I forget what they're called, but the little dancing wooden puppet guys.
Oh yeah,
Marionettes. They do the little dance that drains magic from magic users, and that goes after the mage. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was a cool detail. Going back to a little bit earlier, just to comment on the art, because the art is so fun in this manga. There's a part on page 15, which is where Dai is first summoning his monster friends at the request of the fake heroes. So he's summoning them all, and it shows panels with just a bunch of them noticing the call, And at the bottom of page 15, we've got a crab and the squid guy behind him. Squidzilla, is that what he's called?
Yeah, that's one of the versions of that monster. Yeah, Squidzilla.
Right on. Well, anyway, the crab and the squid are in the same panel, and the crab just has the best face. It's like this squished, very happy looking face. I just love it.
Yeah, he looks like very excited to be there.
Totally. He's like, yes, this is my time to shine.
Yeah, Aust, I know you read a lot of manga. What did you think of the art style of this book?
Oh yeah, it's especially like with the panels you're talking about here with all the monsters. It's not like super detailed, more than you'd expect, I guess, from what was going to be a one shot. The art in general is just beautiful, and on like the next page where you see all the monsters crowded together in the top panel, like there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
That's how they got picked up for future stories, by delivering a really strong product.
Yeah. I love the little ghost with the hat.
He's one of my favorite little units in Dragon Quest Tact, by the way, the ghost.
There's just so much to look at. And
there's pretty much all the staples of the monsters from, Dragon Quest. You got your Draki, you got your Muddy Hand, which is there at the very front.
Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting because, like, Koji Inada, the artist, he kind of does his own take on a lot of the Dragon Quest monsters, which they continued to use that style for the first anime, but then they made an interesting turn of direction with the newer anime where they went to straight up more on model Dragon Quest monsters, where they all looked more like their Akira Toriyama creations, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I like that. Both versions are cool. I enjoyed this artist's take on it, but it's also cool to see them slightly more authentic in the newer show.
Mm.
So, magic cylinders. The bad guys kidnap Gomi-chan. Dai has to go after them, and Brass gifts Dai with magic cylinders, which he can use to cast Gush and Gulp, right?
Yeah, and tortures him with it at first to test it out.
Yeah, so there's some really funny moments with that. And I really like these magic cylinders, and I just wish they popped up more in the story later, because they're a unique mechanic of this version of Dragon Quest. And we see them a little bit later on, but not as much as we do right at the beginning.
Yeah, I to go off topic of manga here, I recently watched the BBC dub, the first episode.
Oh, okay.
With my son, and he loved the little cylinders. Running around the house afterwards, playing like pretending he had some, saying "Gush Gulp."
Oh, that's awesome.
Do you think they sell toys of these? Because I would totally buy one.
I immediately looked, and could not find any like for the cylinders.
That's too bad.
I bet you if they do have them, they're like 30 years old.
I checked Yahoo Auctions Japan and couldn't find anything like that. There's really not much out there for Dai toys. I mean, there's some stuff, but not much.
Not enough role-playing toys, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that we know that we're going to get Infinity Strash, the Dai console game, it'd be really interesting to know if we actually get to control the magic cylinders in the game. That'd be fun.
Oh, yes, that would be neat. Just use it to summon bad guys and stuff.
Yeah.
To finish talking about this very first story before we move on to the next one, we mentioned the bad guys kidnap Gomi-chan. Dai has to go after them. Of course, Dai has to actually go to the castle where they've been taken in the manga, whereas in the newer show, he rescues them on a ship instead. So there's more of a travel element here, right?
Yeah,
because he in the new show, something that they added was summoning a dragon, a green dragon, which was cool, and it kind of plops onto the ship and it makes it move all around because it's just so ginormous.
Yeah, that was fun. Okay, are we ready to move on to the next story?
Sure.
All right. So the next story we have is Dai O Might, which is a 3-part story from pages 45 to 114. In these chapters, a new ship arrives on Dermline Island. Its occupants are Temjin, the Bishop of Papnica, Varen the Sage, Princess Leona, and a retinue of guards. Leona has arrived to perform a magic ritual in an island cave, but Temjin and Varen secretly plot to kill her. The jerks, Dai and Leona, become trapped underground, while Varen uses a killing machine to attack Brass. Dai manages to save the day thanks to a mysterious power that he can only use when a dragon crest appears on his forehead. What do we think of that, guys?
Yeah, to start off, this is unlike the last chapters where we had the fake heroes. Like, you don't know who the bad guy is at first. They kind of keep that secret for at least a little bit until you see them plotting.
Yeah, it was. This one was a little bit of a better reveal on that. Of we have our sage who appears with the princess, and he seems like he has good intent until he doesn't. But so it was a very nice story after all, because I liked how Dai has to get mad to activate his power. So, like in Dragon Ball Z, whenever Gohan gets really, really mood elevated, his powers activate. Basically, I saw it akin to that. Like they were put in a real strenuous situation of she's poisoned, they're inside the volcanic cavern, he can't do anything, and at the last possible second, his dragon crest appears below a hole in the side.
Yeah, what did you guys think of Princess Leona? I personally liked her sass and how she gave Dai a hard time.
Yeah, because that's how he gets his knife, is she gives it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. When she first talks to Dai, she laughs at him for being little, right? And the dialogue is a little bit different than what we get in the newer anime, so you can enjoy both versions of it. But it's just funny the way she laughs at him, and then his reaction shot at the bottom of that particular page is like he looks like he's got a disease or something. He's just like, oh, it's so bad. She really takes the wind out of his sails. But this is actually the start of kind of a loving relationship from Dai's end. He develops a crush on her, doesn't he?
More or less. I think that was the case, because she was, like, hey, when you get older and grow up, come see me.
He's like, oh, Oh,
And he takes that personally.
Right on. And they both like talk and think about each other despite the vast distance that separates them once she goes back.
Because what I forget which nation she was the princess of. Was it Romilly or was that the other one?
that was the other one. It's a Popnika.
Popnika, that's it. Yeah.
It's the royal Popnika knife that she gives him.
Funny, I was pronouncing it Papnica.
You know what? No, I know. I've watched enough of the anime now that I know it's Popnika, closer to that.
Cool.
And I am notorious for getting names wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I'm okay on that one.
There you go. That's another good reason to watch the anime.
What did you guys think of the scorpion design? Because that was pretty gnarly.
Oh, yeah. He's got a real mean face, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, because even when he popped out, they were just like, that's not a normal scorpion. So
Right.
this one was definitely inundated with the dark will.
Yeah, it looked something more out of a Final Fantasy game as opposed to a Dragon Quest game.
That's true. It's a scorpion on steroids.
Yeah,
he kills
definitely
all
got
those
that
innocent guards.
evil thing going on.
Oh yeah, and then I loved the use of the killing machine. I thought that was a cool concept. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you can't go without the Dark Lord's power, but then they figured out a way to use their own magic power to get it going.
That's true. And this story, whether it's in the manga or the anime, it really infused the killing machine with coolness. Like I never thought of it as a particular, like, yeah, it's a traditional Dragon Quest enemy, but it's so cool in this story that it makes me like Killing Machine more.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I too agree with this statement. It was a really cool way of doing it. I mean, sure, some may exist out in the wild, but using it as a basically mecha suit was a really neat way of doing that.
Yeah.
And running into it is a big deal for Dai.
Yeah, because he almost doesn't take it out, but I like the clever way of how he figures out how to take it out, which was nice to kind of get at a vulnerable spot and blow some magic into it as opposed to trying to get it from the outside. He kind of cooks him inside the machine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Elder tried to cast Frizzle on him at some point and it didn't do jack. So Dai got a little bit smarter about it. But I think that was before Dai broke out of the volcano that he did that.
I think you're right. Yeah, and during that fight with the killing machine, the sound effects game is on point. Like there's a lot of huge dynamic sound effects accompanying the action, and it really like adds to the flow of the fight.
Oh yeah. I'm like on some pages of it right now. It's like Dusha, Boosh.
It's like Vram, Kashoom, stuff
Sure.
like that. I also love every shot you see of the sage. I forget his name because it's not Timjin because that's the other guy that's with him.
Then it's Varan, Vara.
Baron, yeah, he has just gone full evil mode at this point. Like his face is all shriveled up, and he's got that evil smile going on.
Yeah.
He's just like, "How dare you? How dare you stand up against me?"
That is a super evil face.
But above all else, Dai is able to persevere
Of course.
because once that the dragon crest appears on his head, I think Varan is even just like, "This is impossible."
Like, uh-oh. Yeah, and Dai finishes off the killing machine with a sizzle attack, but it looks like this amazing punch that he delivers, like a full page attack, and it looks great.
Yeah, and it's one of those those things where it's like that power from within that he didn't know he had because he couldn't really do magic in the beginning, and Grandpa kept getting frustrated with him that he sucked at doing magic spells. He wanted to make him, I think he wanted to make him into a mage or sage or something.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a hero.
Yeah, definitely a
Okay.
mage.
He's a lump shaman, so.
Yeah, trying to teach him his ways, and Dai just isn't getting it. And he thinks at the end, like, oh, maybe he can, he's got that awakened power now. We'll go back and he'll start being able to do some spells now. And the very end of the chapter is him just trying to do a simple frizz spell, and he can't do it. Just coming out of little tiny fireballs, but nothing, not a full frizz.
Oh yeah. And the chapter also ends with Leona going back to her kingdom, as we talked about earlier.
With a wink and a smile.
Yeah, and Dai is just like very joyously wishing her goodbye. I guess because she winked at him.
and so starts their relationship.
I don't.
And then Elder at the end is just like, was Dai really using magic? Maybe I was just seeing something.
I don't believe my eyes.
But yeah, that was a good story. So once that is over, now we turn to the tale of dynamic training, which is page 147 through 166, assuming you can find pages that actually are labeled as such.
Is it
You went too
called that?
far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I went too
This
far.
time you've gone too far.
I've gone too far. Nice. What I meant to say was, I swear, was the tale of the hero tutor, which is page 115 through 146.
Which gives us some amazing color pages.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In this chapter, the monsters of Germline Island have gone berserk. A mysterious tutor named Avan saves the day and proposes to train Dai as a hero. Concerned for Princess Leona's safety, Dai agrees to take on Avan's training. Before they can start, a scouting party of 2 Hawkmen for the Dark Lord appear before them. Avan's student Pop the Mage is able to take one out, but is fizzled by the other. Dai steps in and is able to dispatch the other scout, giving hope to Avan about Dai's potential as a hero. In Bururian, you had mentioned how it starts out with these beautiful color pages.
Yes. And it's color pages of a castle getting torn down, getting ransacked by monsters. And they're just like, oh no, I can't believe it. The Dark Lord has returned.
Classic Dragon Quest drama.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Lord always returns.
Yeah, and something that I thought was interesting, because like I said, I don't read a lot of manga. It's basically Dragon Quest that has got me started, because I started with Dragon Quest Monsters Plus, and now this. It transitions from like full color pages to like these red and gray and black and white pages. Is this something that's normal in manga?
I have seen this I've been buying the Fist of the North Star Viz signature editions, which will have random chapter selections throughout the books. They've got like 6 volumes out now that do this thing. They're not full color like the first couple of pages of this chapter is, but they've got that nice red-gray gradient on maybe half of a chapter at any given time. So I've seen this before, and I don't know if that means that this is only done in Viz mangas, because I don't think I really buy anything that's not Viz outside of the Dragon Quest Monsters Plus, which was not Viz.
Yeah, was it you, Us, that I was talking with before, that you said it was some kind of Shonen Jump thing where they had, special editions or something like that, where they, do just a little bit of color to make it pop out?
Well, I know I've seen like special releases of like Dragon Ball and stuff that have color pages, and the Shonen Jump magazine would have a couple of like full color glossy pages for like big important chapters and stuff. But I haven't seen the half, like I said, the red and gray gradient. I haven't seen that before. So I don't know if that's like a new thing, or if it's just this is published by Viz Media, like Bururian said. So maybe it's a Viz thing.
No, because they do it in the Korean version too. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same style. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, so
it's the same transition.
Well, clearly to just add red to the picture is more cost effective than doing the full color pages. So yeah, like they give you some color, so it does make those pages really pop, but it's not the full level of niceness in most of these color pages.
And maybe it's just like kind of similar to how American newspapers work with their comics that they do, like the weekday and Saturday editions were in black and white, and then you'd have the full Sunday spread. So maybe it was like a schedule type of thing, like, hey, every couple of chapters we're going to do a special color thing for you or something. I don't know.
Could be. By the way, with the red colors, we get a lot of kind of an orange look, and it's funny because Dai in orange looks quite a lot like Goku or Gohan.
He does, doesn't he?
I didn't think about that.
But he really wears blue.
Yeah, that's what throws me off, because I know it's blue, but then I'm looking at all this red. I'm like, that's not right. But I know it's just because everything is red.
It is really strange.
Yeah, because if you just close and look at the front cover.
Yeah, it's lies. It's lies. But it does look cool. Like I think probably the page that I love the most with the red gradient is when the monsters are attacking each other on page 120, where you've got like the Saber Cat attacking the Golem, and the Cyclops attacking the Squidzilla, and so on and so forth. Just the red sky in the background. It looks like really ominous as these monsters are battling each other out. I really like it.
It's crazy. I never really thought about it before, but all of the monsters are becoming affected. Even Elder as a lump sage, he's just like, I can feel it pressing down on me. Gome-chan seems to have no issue with this, and it's probably explained with what you said earlier, Pendy, like when his origins get revealed.
Yep, it's just one of those many clues that you'll see throughout the series of like something special about this guy, but you just don't know what exactly.
Yeah, because I've read volume 1 probably half a dozen times now, and I'm only just now noticing that Gome-chan is not affected by this.
Yeah, I do love the idea that monsters, while many of them might be aggressive and like feral, they're not inherently evil unless the Dark Lord is active and like is using his magic to, I guess, sort of like possess them. And then that's like in the games, those are the kind of monsters we usually encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Quest Heroes is entirely predicated on that.
Yeah, and then like. Not to get into spoilers for TQ5, but like a large portion of that game really takes place when the big bad isn't in a position of power, because the game takes place over generations, and that sort of makes sense that the hero is then able to like recruit monsters to his side, because for the majority of the game they don't have that evil influence over them.
Oh yeah, that does make sense.
Just as a general concept, I like this.
Yeah, it's nice. I like how there's like what's the line that when you run into the blue slime in some of the games, or I'm really a good slime.
Yeah.
Or good slime. They reference it in like I've seen it referenced in several anime as well, where they say that line. It's very interesting how, if you guys have seen or read that time I got reincarnated as a slime, that's how two of the people who are from Earth, from regular Earth, know that they're from the same place, because he says the line from Dragon Quest, and then the other guy's like, "Oh, the video game. I know what you're talking about."
Yeah, he's like the head person at the academy in one of the big cities, and Rimuru shows up, and because he hears that a guy who says he's from this place called Japan, and then he spits out a bunch of manga, because that guy was just like, I died before they finished it. How does it end? And he just creates it all for him.
That is neat.
And of course, we get the big introduction for Avan in these chapters. Fantastic character. I know, one of our regulars in the Dragon's Den Discord is such a huge fan of Avan, and I'm sure he was ecstatic that because of this resurrection of the series, that they ended up making that prequel series starring Avan and his adventures in the before this.
Oh, they're doing a prequel series for this? Or they have?
They have, yeah. I don't know
excellent.
if it's done yet, but they're in the middle. They might be in the middle of it, or they just did an Avan prequel series.
That's neat. Yeah, I would like to see more of that, because I like him a lot, because when he shows up and he immediately gets down to business. The Dark Will is being imposed on all the monsters on the island, and he's just like, he shows up in a boat and goes, hang on, I got this, and puts a magical seal over a very large portion of the island that keeps them from going wild.
Yeah.
And I love how he introduces himself with his little advertisement. 15 years of experience. Look no further. Don't be shy. Contact me. It's great stuff.
That's true. And we see his full name, Avan de Zenuar III, which you don't see or hear very often.
Well, I'm glad you went after that pronunciation instead of me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's totally what it is.
And we were talking about like Dai possibly getting a crush on Leona. At first he's like, I don't know if I want to do this whole thing, and then he's like, but Leona's in danger. Oh, what? Okay, I guess I'll I'm all in.
Motivates him pretty quickly.
On the following page, we get to see the two gargoyles with A and B on their head, and I don't know if this is the direct reference to that, but it just made me immediately think of in the games when you run into an enemy encounter, they could be in two groups, and it would be Gargoyle A, Gargoyle B.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's a fun device that they use later on as well, because you'll see like Gargoyle C, Gargoyle D.
That's great.
Yeah.
I didn't put that together.
Because these two kick the bucket, so you never see A and B again. But then you see C.
Plenty more letters in the alphabet.
Yeah, because of course you guys have all played the games, but like especially when you're going after muddy hands that can call other muddy hands, and how it can just go and go and go. And you get up to like Z, and then sometimes I think it does like double letters, like it's muddy hand LL.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever seen it get to double letters.
Yeah, because I think in some of the games it does. I'm not sure if it does it in Dragon Quest 3, where I think that's where you first run into them, the Goopies or the Muddy Hands or whatever they call them. I think it was Goopies in the original translation. But like I remember doing that as a kid, where I wanted to get up to level 99 to all my characters, and I was just on the final area where it was all dark, and I was just doing goopies. I was going goopy after goopy after muddy hand, and just letting them go and go and go, so I could get like a huge reward at the end of it.
I think in
I've done that.
DQ10 cuts it off at like K or L.
Oh, really? That's soon?
Yeah, like it won't. Just no more monsters will appear. You have to leave the battle.
Oh, well, that's kind of disappointing. Well, I guess maybe because it's an MMO that they
Yeah.
kind of want to cap it, I guess.
Well, it's common, like if you've got like a quest to kill like 20 of this monster, and you have like a spell that you can use to make more of them appear. It's common for people to do that. So I don't know why they have a limit though. I guess if it had no cap on it, if you had 4 people doing the same ability, it could get out of hand pretty fast.
Yeah, I know I've said this before, but I do love in this series how they're very good about using all sorts of spells from the game. Like and just everything. Like they'll use Dazzle, they'll use not just like the big damaging spells, but like I said, like Dazzle, like when they're fighting these Hawkmen guys, one of the Hawkmen uses Fizzle on Pop, so he can't cast spells anymore. Like all sorts of secondary spells are used as well, which is really cool.
I'm so grateful that the manga and the anime is like carrying forth the official script that we've got now instead of just doing a literal translation. Like they're relying on, pre-established names and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like it seemed like every 4 or 5 years we would get like a new translation style for the games. Like they could never settle on one style, and now I think they finally settled on one, and they've been somewhat consistent since probably, I don't know when, but probably
DQ 8 is when they started, right? Yeah,
probably eight onwards. Yeah.
Well, before we move on from this particular story, guys, let's talk about how Dai finishes off the last of the gargoyles at the end of the fight. He kind of surprises the guy. The guy thinks that he missed, but he didn't miss with his sword slash, right?
He did not, which was kind of crazy to see.
Pretty gruesome for a Dragon Quest thing.
Oh, I mean, this is like typical like Japanese manga anime, especially from the early days, because it's like from the late 80s, early 90s, where like they don't mess around with the violence.
Yeah, I do like how you mentioned with that slice, he thinks he missed, but then you see the attack cutting through the water behind him, and then he's just like, ugh! And then you just see that crack happen in the next panel, and you're just like, oh man. But then, as in Dragon Quest fashion with a lot of that stuff, they just kind of puff into smoke. But because it's red smoke, it looks a whole lot worse than it probably is.
I was just going to say I interpret it as blood in this version, but yeah, it also does look like smoke in the next panel.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, but like Bururian said, because they're using the red hues, like it does look like it's a bloody mess instead.
Because in the third panel, I guess it's supposed to be smoke that's like swirling around Dai, but with it being that red color, it just looks like that he just turned this gargoyle inside out and it's just going everywhere.
Yeah, it looks gory.
See, the blood got on all the smoke and it's just carrying it around,
Because his sword doesn't have any blood on it.
Right, because that's why I think you're right that it was just supposed to be like him kind of poofing in the smoke. But like that, the red color makes it look like it's just everywhere.
Oh, I guess.
Sorry to take the wind out of your sails on that one.
Maybe it's just it's like an anti-stick sword. It repels blood. One of those features. Well, then, the next story is the tale of dynamic training, which lasts from pages 147 to 166. So it's a pretty quick story. In this chapter, Dai starts his training with Avan. His training consists of strength, endurance, and magic-focused training. As usual, Dai struggles with magic, but is able to split a large boulder by the end of the day. Day 2 of the training consists of sword practice, which Dai excels at. Avan rewards him by showing off his Avan Strash skill. That's a famous skill of this series, and Avan has another special skill in store for Dai, but that will have to wait until our next Die Another Day episode.
Yeah, so we get more of the red hues, so we get more young Goku training.
I think this is the last chapter that has the coloring too, so before it pops back to just black and white. I like this because, Avan wants Dai to do his special hard course, and Pop is just like, no, please God, no. And the way that Avan brings the boulder in, he carries it with utter ease. And this is a very Goku kind of thing. He lifts a giant boulder with little to no effort and brings it over, and it's just like, cut this.
Yeah. No, yeah, I do love this. It does, like you guys keep saying it reminds me of the early Dragon Ball chapters, and just very nostalgic feeling to read this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
And I love how he's trying to split the boulder with a sword, and he thinks it's like this famous sword that Avan has given him, but it's really not. He's like so sorry for breaking it, and Avan's like, yeah, it was only like 10 gold.
Yeah, because in the last chapter he also mentioned that, I think with the sword that he had given to Dai did that basically Strash, like the proto Strash, to kill the gargoyle, and they are all thinking that it was some mighty powerful sword, and you get that little crude drawing of Avan going, actually I only paid 10 gold for it.
It's like, oh, I broke your legendary sword, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's always been a great joke.
In this, I guess, version of the manga, we get Italian catchphrase Avan, but from what I understand, he says different things in different languages depending.
I've heard that too.
Like in Japanese he says English stuff, but that wouldn't work too well here, I suppose.
And I think that's clever that they decided to go with like Italian, like European phrases, since he's kind of got like a medieval European kind of bougie look to him.
Those hair curls, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So he's
that's a
like,
good point.
Si pronto.
What's up with the emblem on Avan's shirt?
Don't say it. Don't say it.
What? It just seems a little sus. That's all I'm saying.
Oh gosh.
He said it. I'll be honest, that was one of the first things I noticed too, because if you flip around to the back cover and look at the bottom center, it's there too.
Oh yeah.
You're right.
There's the little guy.
Does it represent anything in particular?
As far as I know, it's just his particular symbol that he came up with. You know, I bet they explain it. I would bet money that they probably explain it in the Avan prequel series.
That could happen.
But yeah, in the, as far as I know, it's just like his particular symbol that he came up with, because he ended up, becoming a tutor, and he had a bunch of students, so it's what he came up with to his.
I don't have any theories that stand out immediately on it.
With the little spikes or whatever, or arms, wings that are sticking out of the sides of it, looks sort of like the emblem of Roto.
Yeah. I can see that.
Like I figured it was.
Yeah,
just
I would
sort of
not be
like-
surprised if I had.
Yeah, it was like probably like partially
Influence.
inspired by that, and it's his own little emblem.
Yeah.
Could be. So we're cutting off in the middle of the actual volume, but do we have any more thoughts about this last particular story?
Well, I do. At the very end of it, we see our first Avan Strash from a stick.
Yeah, I like too how Dai is, he does a little one-on-one sparring session with Avan, and Avan's fighting with one hand, and Dai makes him almost switch to using two hands. Or for just a second, he used a second hand to stop the attack.
Pretty impressive of Dai.
Yep. And then when we pick up where we left off, we get to see a little dragon action, so that'll be fun.
Oh yeah. I also love how Pop is kind of throughout this one, since Dai is going through the special hard course, we keep saying Pop hiding away, like, no, I'm not doing this. You can leave me out of this. And Avan keeps going like, you can join in whenever you want.
Yeah, and Pop makes these ridiculous scared faces.
You know what? I love Pop. I've only read the first 2 volumes of this manga so far. I love Pop. He is my favorite character so far.
Aw.
Yeah, and you can tell that like maybe he's interested in what all is going on. You think he just wants to sleep in and slack off the whole time, but like he gets like you said, he gets caught by Avan when because he's spying on the whole training. He's like kind of getting interested as it goes on.
I think he sees the potential in Dai.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of inspiration going on. Like, maybe I should try a little bit harder.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
But not too hard.
But not too hard.
Not at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've talked about it before, but Pop is probably the main character who goes through the most growth in the series. So yeah, it's fun to see him like this, and then as you continue enjoying the story, to see how much he changes over time.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And it's not quick growth either. It's very gradual throughout the whole series. So it's nice. It's not like it's just one day he wakes up. It's like, I'm a hero now. It's like it's very
Yeah,
it's good how they do it.
to see character growth like that in just one volume would be kind of disappointing, I think.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think Dai is the exception to the rule because, he's the main character and stuff like that. But other characters, they need their time.
Yeah.
So, guys, what are your final thoughts on this first half of the first volume of the manga as a whole? Ost, we'll start with you.
It was good. All the things I mentioned, I loved. I think this last chapter was where it really started to get going for me, and then into the second half of the book is where I got really invested. But everything that we've seen in this half has been really good.
Paul, what do you think?
Well, I agree with what he said. However, this manga needs more puff puffs.
Pafu.
Yeah, so it's a boys manga, so mostly guy characters. But hey, we get Leona and the lady, I forget her name, from the Evil Heroes. So there's still some female characters, and that stuff's cool.
Yeah.
Bururian, what are your thoughts on this?
I like the self-contained story at the beginning a lot. Even though it's, you could more or less just cut it out of the volume and the volume wouldn't technically lose anything. But yeah, the actual beginning of the story is pretty great, and the arrival of Avan, well timed with the dark will pressing down on the monsters, is going to lead to some very fun stuff in the second half of the volume.
Yeah, this was a great start, and they did show who's coming up in the full color page in the middle of this. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with that particular character that we were trying to name in the beginning of this whole podcast. I liked how they, it wasn't just black and white. They had some nice colored pages in there. I like the red gradient. It was different, but that was cool as well, even though it led to some confusion on how gory this manga got at times.
Well, yeah, especially at the beginning of the Tale of the Hero Tutor, you actually see a skeleton kill a guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun book, and I look forward to going over the second half of this with you guys as well. It was great.
Yeah.
Can't wait. That's all for this episode of Die Another Day, our manga-focused spinoff of Tactfully Die.
We'd like to thank our guests Bururian and AustNerevar for joining us today.
Yes, thanks to both of you for coming on the show and having very pronounceable names.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Considering this is the fourth attempt at the show, so if you've listened to other episodes on Tactfully Die, you may have seen or heard that I actually forgot to press the record button the first time we tried to do this. Then the second time, someone had a medical issue and we had to cancel, and the third time, someone forgot they had dental surgery on the day, so we had to cancel again. But it's all good, and I appreciate both of you guys for being so patient with us.
And that's the truth. Anyway, we love our guests for being so patient with us throughout all this and for pitching in to tonight's episode.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And while we love our guests, something we don't love or use is Patreon. But if you do have any money that you're just dying to get rid of, and you would like to donate anything to a website that's been supporting Dragon Quest fans for over 20 years, stop by the Dragon's Den at www.woodis.com/den and click on support this site. Woodis has owned and maintained the Dragon's Den fan site for decades. He personally edits every YouTube version of our podcast, and he fully appreciates any donations to help keep the servers running.
The Dragon's Den website also features an Amazon affiliate link. If you click the link and then make a purchase, a small fraction of the sale will go to support the Den. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll get piles of geek cred with every purchase.
We even have a Slime Time t-shirt you can buy by our resident artist, Dwayne. See the link for it in the show notes. And as part of the Slime Time Extended Universe, or STU, you can direct comments or questions for the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at DQ Slime Time.
Even better, you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/EastXTwitch. Come watch me play a variety of video games every Saturday night, kids. For more places to hang out, you can join countless Dragon Quest fans and us in the Dragon Questers and Dragon Quest Tact Global Facebook groups. We'd love to see you there.
And you can also find me at the new Infinity Strash Facebook group I recently created. It's going to be about the Infinity Strash Dragon Quest Die console game that's coming out to the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, Steam, and Switch and coming to the West as well, as recently announced at the Tokyo Game Show or right before it. Come check it out.
I might have to do that. Consider joining in tons of Dragon Quest discussions at the Dragon's Den forums, the only forums to survive Hadlar's previous attempt at world conquest. Find the forums from the Dragon's Den main page or at woodus.com/forums.
Or come hang out with us and tons of other hardcore Dragon Quest fans on the officially unofficial Dragon's Den Discord server, personally created by one of our guests, Bururian.
Hey.
That's right, the officially fishy Dragon's Den Discord server. We're all there. So we'd like to thank everyone that made this episode possible, including Pendy, Woodus, the Dragon's Den, and Dental Anesthesia for allowing me to survive all the drilling and crunching the surgeon threw my way.
Oof. And a special thanks to Platty for helping me out with our rotating podcast logo.
Please like, subscribe, and write a review for the podcast.
For more Dragon Quest Slime Time, check out our library of episodes on Dragon's Den, Anchor.fm, Apple Podcast, Audible, YouTube, and more.
We'll catch you later, everybody. Remember, don't hate, appreciate.
Time to zoom on out of here.
This is Gertrude for Slime Time, reminding you all that you must complete your adventure.